Call the Village of Johnsburg, May 18, 2021 regular meeting of the Board President and Board of Trustees to order at 7 p.m. On the roll call, Trustee Foreman.
Here.
Trustee Curry.
Here.
Trustee Clemson.
Here.
Trustee Frost.
Here.
And Trustee Letzker.
Here.
We all stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Steinsdorfer. Wow, you just have to be on top of it.
Do I address you?
Address everybody here.
Thanks to Kyle. We're here to talk about the cart issue, just from the perspective of those of us who aren't cart drivers and that live on the route that we should probably rename Cartway Lane. We live just over on Shiloh, over here, and we witnessed a lot. I mean, we've been in Johnsburg a long time, and Scott and I went to McHenry High School years ago, but we just hope that the village takes a serious look at, I don't know how well it was thought out, what would be the ramifications of this. There just seems to be a lot of negative things cropping up from this. I mean, one of the things I see, we could start having a divide in this village over those who have and those don't, and that's a concern of mine, that us and our neighbors could come at odds over carts. And we have people in our backyard on the school property riding these things in on our front drive, so we hear it 24 hours a day in the summer, of all sizes. So we have a few questions over, why are they allowing these huge 8 people seating 120 mile an hour things on our streets when it was supposed to be golf carts, I think. I don't know the whole story, some of it, but it's just, we witness a lot, all hours of the day, music blaring, people honking their horns in the middle of the night, revving their engines, racing up and down the street. There's kids on quads, there's adults, so we're just wondering we don't want to spoil anybody's fun, but we just feel it's changing the town. My wife Mary, she was in McHenry getting something done, and this girl said, "Oh, this is Johnsburg, that's the place where they drive all the carts all over the place." So, and we see it from both sides, and so we just want to know that, what are the restrictions, if any, on these things. There's kids of all ages, all kinds of, it has 4 wheels, we see it go by our house, and at all speeds, all times. So I just had, Hans, our friend Hans Heidler, was just sitting in my driveway one Saturday last summer for about an hour. He goes, "I can't believe it, how many these things go by." And it's just watch, every 5 minutes there's going to be something. And we don't want to spoil fun, but it's just there all the time. It's constantly there. And Johnsburg's becoming a very noisy place between the carts and the boats and the river and the snowmobiles, and not snowmobiles, sorry, more snowmobiles are in our backyard too, but they're very respectful, and they're, not so much always with the quads and stuff. So that's just our concern, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Len Keel?
Yeah, on the road to Remington Grove in the route. Another deer got hit about a week ago. Just put signs up to remind people, there's deer crossing here all the time. And this deer was annihilated. I mean, it was in pieces all over the place. If the chief was here, I'd tell him to keep an eye on the speeders too, because that road is supposed to be 25, it's closer to 45 or 50.
Yeah, are you talking the entrance to the subdivision,
Yeah.
Mr. Keel?
Alexander,
Yeah.
on Alexander, right before you get to the townhouses. Len, you went like a wildlife crossing or something
Something
like
like
that?
it, just to remind people, hey, because I know this is rather small, I what you guys are doing, but this deer was, and I say annihilated, he was annihilated. A piece here, a piece there. Whoever hit him had a lot of damage to his car, or truck. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, they usually win. Jim Barrett.
Hello, thank you for having me here today. I wanted to speak on behalf of a golf cart club that we have formed here in Johnsburg. Two of the founding members are over here, Casey Lane and Mike Fout. We decided that given the current climate with the golf carts and the UTVs in town, we figured we would hold a fundraiser to help offset any expenses for any signage, cart pathway improvements, as well as any additional resources that need to be made. So we held a fundraiser last weekend. I wanted to list off the sponsors that helped us with us as well. Golf with Visions, Chapel Hill Golf Club, Ravens Bowl, Cullen Knoll, the Falk family, the Malachuk family, the Kyle Smith family, Nielsen Enterprises, the Ten Broom family, Oak Park Lounge, Hiller Farms, Heeman Water Conditioning, Sports Decal, Halftime Bar and Grill, Northern McHenry Chiropractic, Lakehook Plumbing, our host sponsor of Sunnyside Tavern, Hellstrom Automotive, and also a very generous donation from the Johnsburg Lions Club. By that list of sponsors, I think you guys can understand the power behind what we were able to do, how we were able to raise it, and the community spirit behind having golf carts and UTVs in our town. So I am here to donate $9,000 that we raised on Saturday for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank all of
Thank
you
you.
people that participated. We're very grateful on getting things moving. While we're talking about that, we'll talk a little bit more about golf carts, I'm sure, before the night's over, so if you folks want to stick around, we'll, if there's something you hear that you don't agree with, we'll let you do a little comment. Okay. So, anyways, I'll entertain a motion to approve the omnibus agenda. Motion by trustee Foreman, seconded. I'll second. Second by trustee Frost. Anything that you would like pulled? Anything that anybody wants pulled? With there being none, on the roll, trustee Foreman.
Aye.
Trustee Curry. Aye. Trustee Clemstein.
Aye.
Trustee Frost. Aye. And trustee Letzker. Motion carried. On the President's report, in front of you, I believe everybody has a 2021 staff and committee appointment list. Most of them stay pretty much in place. We need 2 people for Development and Governmental Affairs, and Mr. Dan Loud will be moving to Planning and Zoning. He originally requested that when he turned in his profile, and we appreciate him doing that. So, Dan, thank you.
No problem.
Also, just to bring up Memorial Day, the VFW is through with their Memorial Day ceremony like in the past, so anybody that can be there and participate, it will be, Monday the 31st on Memorial Day. So, please let everybody know so I can let George know and make arrangements.
Do you know what time it starts, Ed?
I believe it's 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay, following items are first read, no action. Move to approve ordinance 21-22-02, granting the variance to section 7.2-3D, fences of the Johnsburg zoning ordinance to permit a fence in the front yard on waterfront property at 802 River Terrace, Johnsburg, Illinois. First read, discussion.
Is this the home with the pool?
No, the pool one we passed already.
Okay. These are 2 new.
Right.
Mr. Donnelly's here in the audience.
Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions you may or may have, so. I'm just trying to replace an old wooden fence that's been there since we bought it in '05. It's rotted, it's falling over in my neighbor's yards, because we had to put new holes in, I got to get a variance. I'm not changing anything, not putting anything else, it's 4-foot high fence, decorative, aluminum, kind of meets all of the specifications. Trying to replace, make it look better. It's been an eyesore. We're at the very tip of the end of River Terrace Drive. So, That's what we're trying to do.
Okay,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any questions for? Okay. We will sleep on it and approve in 2 weeks. Okay. First read also. Move to approve ordinance 21-22-03, granting variance to section 7.2-3D, fences of Johnsburg zoning ordinance to permit a fence in the front yard on waterfront property at 1020 River Terrace, Johnsburg, Illinois. Any questions on that one? Before we go on to move to approve ordinance 21-22-01, amending the chapter 8 of the Johnsburg zoning ordinance which pertains to the golf carts, especially since Mr. Steinsdorfer and Mrs. are here and all the golf cart folks are here that did a fantastic job at helping us trying to control it. The goal is to increase awareness and safe use of our unique non-highway vehicles as it is a feature and a tribute to the village of Johnsburg. We are all aware of such activity is taking place, and we want to ensure operation is safe and controlled. Okay. I am open to further discussion. Please know the vision of allowing non-highway vehicle use is to bring the community together, and that's why we did it. We have a lot of people that are moving to Johnsburg because they can use golf carts and non-highway vehicles. So I think almost all the committees have met on it. I think Community Affairs met on it, and their opinion was to leave it alone, correct, Beth? As is, just let them permit it wherever it could go. I think in certain parks, you know, at Hickory Way, I think it's definitely not a park that we can drive around because the slopes are steep and we don't have enough room around it that we could even allow vehicles to drive around it. I think that we've discussed this with, you know, going in and putting a path along the fence line, which is a great idea. And last night, the rescue squad, not rescue, but the community club was all, we heard some rumblings that they were, you know, upset about where carts were driving. They're not upset about where carts are driving. They would like them to go down the street, turn left, go into Rescue Squad Park. They actually own behind the fence there where we would put a path from the fence to the drive, okay? And that could go up the hill and cross at a 90-degree angle going into half times, okay? And that's probably the best spot that there is a line of sight at. So they have no problem with it. I was at a board meeting last night with the community club, and they have no problem with letting us go through that, okay? Now, Kyle's committee has had a lot of discussion on it, and I think he'd like to share some of that with us before we go forward.
Sure. So after getting Beth's committee's report, we reviewed it park by park. We looked at other parks. Some people even walked up there. I walked up there and looked at it. What we came up with was it was unanimous on my board's decision that we didn't want them to drive in the inside. We felt if you look at the map and you put up there, we felt...
Want to hit the light, Jimmy? Yeah, you can too, Dan. There you go.
So my whole committee felt that having the golf carts on the interior too was not a good idea. So we were looking to propose a parking lot on the bottom left in blue that allow golf carts to drive through the parking lot, open up that path for golf carts and UTVs, and create a little parking lot for them, primarily for football, because that's the sport that gets the most action up there. We did walk and look at baseball fields, and from what we saw, we didn't think that there would be one necessary. We also looked at the northernmost path going east and west, and felt that we shouldn't have them on there either. So out of my committee, it was just the bottom left parking lot, letting them drive through.
So currently it's non-motorized?
Correct, you're not allowed to go on any of those paths.
The non-motorized signs that were put up in the parks were there when, 50 years ago, probably, when that ordinance was created. we felt necessary to change the ordinance because it is different now. People are having golf carts, and we, or some people feel appropriate to go through the paths. Now, I see that middle path as maybe being a little dangerous. I see that path to the far east that goes around the outside perimeter as something that could be used by golf carts. I understand, I think we have to have it, they have to be permitted vehicles. They can't be, kids running, the park's not made for kids to go around in circles in the park, but they could easily use that eastern path to go up and, not go over 5 miles an hour. They have to be a permitted vehicle by the village of Johnsburg, and they would have to yield to pedestrians, which, as far as I know, I've been up there for a lot of baseball games with my grandkids, and everybody seems to be very civil and respect each other and walking and everything else as they go around the park. Mr. Steinsdorfer, I will say that it's the first time I heard that noise was a big problem, but, maybe it is. I haven't heard that yet, but I'm glad you're bringing it up because it's something that we can look into and include in the ordinance.
I've been working with Mary and Lee on this, contacted the school. They put up new signs, and I've been in contact for about 7-8 months with these people.
So Kyle, you're saying, so everybody here understands, the ingress and egress would be Heather Lane going east and west to that new blue parking lot?
Correct. And Skyhawk Lane to get to the parking lot.
It's a blue line that goes over to the parking lot, and a blue line that goes to the skyway.
Okay. So all the other paths in there would be non-motorized?
That's what came out of my committee. Now, like I talked to my committee before, it's a work in progress. This is new. We're, getting more advanced when it comes to this, so we can always change this. We can always amend it. If things are going good, we look to the future. If they're not going good, retract back. We're getting reports monthly from the police. Vinny's got set up from us to look at the complaints for burning leaves, golf cart UTVs, and the boat launch. So we're keeping an eye on it.
As far as I know, there has been no incidents, maybe one, right, Cheryl? I don't want to point anything out, but...
No, there's been more than one person that's hit a golf cart now, so I'm not the only one now.
You're not the only one that has hit one?
Correct.
Okay. But,
And that was 3 years ago.
yeah, okay.
Tom, where that new parking lot is on the south, that doesn't impede your football practice field?
That encroaches in where all the teams will be warming up, yes. Well, compromise.
We felt Heather Lane provided a lot of access, as does that road on the north side, if you want to get to a different field in the park.
See, the problem that I was having with my committee and when I went up there was, if you allow golf carts, UTVs to come in from the north up there, and say you want to open up that east one, going north and south.
You start talking about the far east path.
Correct,
Yeah.
right. And you go down, you have to open up the whole thing and then go to the parking lot again. Or if you said, okay, you can only go to these 2 fields, then they got to turn around. They're either going right close to the field or you turning in the, farmer's property. And it was just a small area, and, that's why I think it's a trial and error with this. See if everyone's behaving. It's 5 miles per hour, so if people are going over 5, and they're up there, because, the whole town's talking about this, and you're going to have license plates next year, so if someone sees a golf cart or UTV going faster, they're going to be calling the police. We're going to know about it. I think the public's going to be aware, and I'm hoping everyone obeys these rules.
Well, so you mentioned you've been up there for a lot of baseball games, and you've seen everybody be respectful. So I'm assuming you mean on their golf carts and UTVs.
Yes, I am.
And we're hoping that they're going to obey the rules. But they've passed 7 signs that say no motorized vehicles in the park, as they're being respectful. But we assume they're going to obey these rules.
The motorized vehicles in the park, were put up probably 50 years ago, and we were going to address this, okay? I think our intent was to address it, okay? That's why we're talking about it. I have not heard of any incidents this at all, where there's been a problem. Other than a couple that you brought up, and that was in 2011 when there wasn't even golf carts allowed, I believe. I
And the
think
little
the
girl who was
ordinance
almost hit,
was,
in
pardon me?
2019. And the little girl who was almost hit at the concession stand in 2019.
2019? What was the date?
Excuse me?
You said a little girl almost got hit. What was the
Almost.
date?
It said almost got hit.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. She wasn't hit, it was close.
Okay.
It was close enough to scare her and the guy driving the golf cart.
Okay.
In 2011, there was, Tom indicated there was somebody that got ran over. And that was before we were ever legalized with golf carts.
You know, it's interesting, and Mr. Hallstrom's tone, and based on a couple of little jabs on social media that I took as interesting, it seems that the community has created some kind of image of me trying to rid Johnsburg of UTVs, and although I ride on Mr. Dietrich's UTV very frequently. So I even heard this weekend that I personally hired an attorney to fight the village on UTVs and golf carts, and I thought that was pretty funny. Got better things to do with my own money and time. But, you know, my concern is public safety.
I respect that more. I think everybody on this board is worried about safety, no doubt about it.
And we're concerned about it too.
Pardon me?
We're concerned about the safety too, right? Nobody here
Oh,
wants
yeah,
that.
I've seen people chase, you know, I don't know if they're here right now, but I've seen people on golf carts, you know, go after other people, telling them, hey, don't ride on the sidewalk, you know, we don't want to be, we know it's a privilege, you know, but it's like everything else. People do goofy things in a car, they do goofy things, you know. We thought an ATV was running up the sled hill. It was a young man in a pickup truck that just got his driver's license. I think, you know, we've probably all been in that situation where we're growing up where we have done some goofy things. You know?
Perfect example of what happened in Remington with a deer getting creamed by a car exceeding the speed limit.
And, you know, I want to just say a few words. I'm a golf cart owner. We have to represent all the people in Johnsburg that don't have golf carts as well. So that's my perspective. I think in the last 2 years, this community has evolved in terms of, we started with golf carts, and now it is really expensive, fancy, loud, noisy UTVs. And where does it go from there? We have to be mindful of the people that don't have them as well. And personally, you know, when we create parks like this, I don't think it's for UTVs and golf carts. I think it's for baseball and football and soccer and all the other things we do at the park. Access to the park is one thing, and I'm all for our new plan here. But things have changed in 2 years, and it is an evolution, and we have to be at the front end of it, managing it for all the people in Johnsburg. So that's what I want to be on the record saying. And I appreciate the clubs and all the fundraising. That's an amazing amount of money. Much appreciated. It'll go a long way to the path system that we're going to, you know, create, but we have somebody in Shiloh. And I personally have probably been by your house, that cut through the bush and down the road. So I apologize if you know, I've disturbed your peace and quiet.
Well, I don't know.
So we have to be mindful of people like this that...
As Ed said, it's getting popular, people are coming to Johnsburg. That means the number of vehicles is going to increase, there's going to be more traffic. And wherever you decide these are going, just remember that as you direct traffic, if you let them go down Heather Lane, now there's going to be a lot of traffic for those people living on Heather Lane. Think about the effect of where you flow the traffic, and think about the people now who are living with these vehicles going by. I mean, we have them by at midnight, honking their horns with music blaring at midnight, and we can hear them half a block away. So Again, we had a golf cart before they were legal. We had to get rid of it because we couldn't ride it anywhere. I got yelled at by people because I went with my kids on Halloween back in the 90s and, "Get off the road," and then, there was another
Your
time,
turn of events, yeah.
my 8-year-old daughter drove our golf cart on the junior high parking lot, and 2 police cars showed up at our house because we were disturbing them. I don't know what she was doing, but so we got rid of the golf cart. I wish we wouldn't have, actually, once, but just be mindful that it affects other people, and I don't want to see where, you guys are very enthusiastic and
You don't
spend...
want it contentious.
Right, and you spend a lot of money, it's a big investment, and there's going to be a lot of energy behind your side, and we're just going to shut up and move away or something because we're not going to... There's a lot of enthusiasm, I can feel it, it's an exciting
We
thing.
don't want you to shut up, we don't want you to move away, the whole idea was to bring the community
Right,
together,
right.
not pull the community apart. I don't know, I have not been by your house before morning at 12:30 at night, because usually I'm in bed by 9:30, but anyways, years ago, maybe it would have been me. And I'm sure Beth her cart isn't noisy and...
It's the slowest cart
You know
in
what?
Johnsburg.
If I can
She'll
just
see
say...
me pushing it from time to time.
Yeah, and if I can just say, that's not a problem. I mean, the golf carts that go by to us, I mean, that's fine. But when we get these really loud, what are those tires that they have on those? I don't know, but they're loud, and they've got their music going, and there's one particular individual, and I don't know who he is, but he's got a smaller one, and it's not a kid, it's an adult, and he's got a horn on it that's as loud as a fire engine horn. And I'm not,
Richardson.
and I'm not kidding you. I mean, we have a fireman that lives across the street from us, and he gets so upset. He's like, dang it, he just went by and woke up my daughter again. They got a baby, so it's stuff like that,
Right.
I think one thing to do is to look outside at some other communities that have the allowance of golf carts and UTVs, such as McHenry, Fox River Grove, Cary. I've had family on some of the McHenry side of it. I'll tell you, I've been all around. Johnsburg's probably the safest place.
I have a question. Where did it change from golf carts to the ATVs and UTVs?
Never
Never changed. It's always been, there's a state ordinance or law that allows those, that you can allow, but you can allow both of them, and we just, when we
The
did
golf
it,
carts
we
for
allowed.
me seems to be a whole different category than these large ATVs, if I'm calling.
Side by side.
I mean, they're going, or do they allow the, is it ATVs?
Yeah, and I...
Because that seems
just
to
sitting
me
here
to be
listening, I
a
understand.
different category than a golf cart.
Yeah.
The speed seems different and the noise is different than a golf cart, from my estimation.
No, it is. They are louder, definitely.
Well, one thing we have here, real quick, Mr. Falk, is this group, like these guys created, and I see a bunch of these faces, I know all you guys out there, we have you guys to help enforce this, to be our patrol out there, to really get the message across, because we're all out there golf carting or driving our UTVs, and we see something wrong, let's police the situation. I mean, it's up to us, people who do good, to make sure everyone else follows those rules, You see someone doing 50.
Well, that's why we're trying to create maps.
Exactly.
All this, so, people know where they can go and where they can't go. That's what this is all about, is, getting them together and getting us together with these groups of people with golf carts to say, hey, listen, let's make it, it's not that it's not safe. I mean, the rules we follow. I mean, stay on the path, stay on here, go here, that's all we have to do. And that's not that hard to do. Especially once we get
I
these
would be willing to bet it's not.
these trails that we're gonna get, and that's why
That's what I'm saying.
that's why that fundraiser
I know all
happens.
these people, they're good people, they follow
Right,
rules,
I-
help police with us,
I'd be willing to bet that they're not the people that are causing the problem. I'd also be willing to bet that they're also telling people, I've seen people talk to other people, hey, don't do that, we enjoy the privilege, we don't want to lose the privilege. But the situation with these vehicles are no different than with cars and trucks and, kids that first get their driver's license and do donuts in the cul-de-sac and all other things that go along with it. okay? There are gonna be, I'm not gonna argue that there aren't gonna be people that break the rules, because it's gonna happen just like every other situation we have in town. It's part of enforcement, and, you know, maybe there should be a noise restriction too, you know, as part of the ordinance. I mean, God knows that we have the river and the boats can be loud also, and, you know, snowmobiles are a little bit different, they can be loud, but you're usually in the house and the windows are closed, you're not sitting in your backyard. So, I mean, all the situations are a little bit different, that takes a little bit of, you know, thinking.
Raising my hand, I don't
Go ahead.
sorry, Mike, I cut you off, but, you know, obviously the self-policing, I think you guys have all said it pretty well. You know, any of us that are on carts or UTVs out there, you know, we're the ones that are probably being the most respectful for everything. Oh, stand up. You know, we're probably some of the people being most respectful out there as far as things go. So that is certainly something that we try to self-police, but there also comes, like, the onus of the individual that may witness the infraction. You know, obviously, you, sir, you know, if you witness something like that, it's also the responsibility of that person to issue a complaint to the village or to the police department. Otherwise, it goes unnoticed, and I think that's really maybe part of the reason why we're here today, is because everybody witnesses these, however, nobody actually takes any action on them.
How do you identify them? How do you identify which vehicle?
Well, it's no different than, I suppose, if a car was speeding down the road. I saw a blue pickup truck go down the road really fast.
You have a license plate on it.
I would think the majority of people that witness a vehicle can't really make out a license plate on a vehicle that might be speeding. But that's just some of what I'm trying to say, is there also comes a responsibility to people witnessing the infraction to call the necessary authorities so they can investigate and issue a citation if one's necessary. Because quite honestly, I'll be a champion for telling people to do the right thing, but I'm also not going to be the police out there, because I'm not the one that's going to tell them what ordinance they're breaking or what violation they're breaking too, because maybe I could be wrong, and that's not for me to decide.
The help police and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, we value your privilege, but you're right, Jimmy, the right way to do it is call the police, because they're the ones that got to enforce it. None of us on this board should be, you know, enforcing it. We should be telling them to call the police. That's how it should work. You know, we shouldn't be chasing people down, but there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you know, this is a privilege, and we want to keep the privilege. So, you know, but I think it's pretty clear, and I agree with Beth. We have to represent all the people, and I think it's pretty clear that you know, most of the people are enjoying the opportunity to have golf carts, and she said she enjoys it just like everybody else. You know, it's unfortunate that there was some kid riding in the field and came out and almost hit her and her dog, but that wasn't a legal vehicle either. It wasn't a side-by-side, it wasn't a golf cart, it was a, you know, where you straddle the seat, four-wheeler type stuff. And we're concerned about the safety, and we don't want that to happen. I hope everybody realizes that also.
Seems like we're spending a lot of time talking about the privilege as if it's someone suggesting take it away. I have not heard anybody in this room suggest it's going to be taken away or suggest we ought to take it away, myself included.
Very good.
So I'm a little confused as to, it almost seems like people want to create an atmosphere of defending themselves against something that isn't real. You know, if people obey the rules, it's pretty simple. Obey the rules.
Same with driving cars, obey the rules.
Right,
If you want to have a
exactly.
driver's license, it's perfect.
And I, you know, Mr. Steinsdorf was the first one that brought up the noise thing. I was totally unaware that noise was discussed, but did you discuss that in your meeting?
Yes, we did.
But,
We're going to be revisiting it.
but the other part about it is not just the privilege being taken away, it's, you know, if there isn't a problem with the way it is now, with people going through the outside, the perimeter of the park and driving, why are we creating a problem? If we haven't had an incident, there hasn't been a problem, why don't we say, you know, no non-permitted vehicles by the village of Johnsburg are allowed to use that path in the park, which, you know, so that's the discussion. It's not whether it's taken away. I don't think we've come to that point yet. okay? I mean, there's been rumors flying all over that we were gonna get rid of all the ATVs or side-by-sides. I don't think there's ever been a discussion at this board level about that, but there has been some rumors flying around like that, which we said, no, that ain't gonna happen, okay? Now, it doesn't mean that we say it's not going to happen. If we have a big problem, we may have to address it and do something about it. But right now, I don't know of one incident in the park that has been a problem. And we're spending a lot of time talking about the problems, but it seems like we're creating more of a problem than solving a problem. And the goal was to bring the community together. I know people go to baseball games and they go and stop at people's house. There was a lot of people in our community that didn't even know their neighbors because we all work out of town. Most of us go out of town to work, and we go out of town, we come home at night, and we hit the garage door and pull the car in, and the garage door goes shut. I think it's been a positive experience for people to meet and meet their neighbors and then meet the whole neighborhood. So that's all I'm saying.
I would agree with that 100% if you have them. If you don't have them, I don't see you meeting the new people quite like that. I think a lot of people use Hiller Park to walk their dogs, to get exercise themselves. They walk the big loop, they walk the little loop. They do not walk, I don't see anyway, I don't see people walking from Heather Lane to the parking lot. I think that that's a natural place to allow everyone in that neighborhood, or anybody cutting through, to come through and get to the parking lot, so they don't have to go all the way around. If I lived up off of, Saddle Ridge or something, I wouldn't want to drive all the way down to almost to Ringwood Road to come back up to Hiller, so I think that's a nice spot to do it. I would be happy to cut through there on my own golf cart, but I haven't yet, but I would, if we allowed it. But, and people keep throwing out these car analogies. We don't allow cars in the park either, so nobody's been hit by a car in the park yet. I think if we allow it, then traffic increases and the likelihood of an accident increases. And I don't know why kids just can't have a place to play their sports. And why can't people park and walk with a couple chairs and sit down and watch kids play sports? I don't understand why that's so difficult. Regarding the noise, Mr. Falk was kind enough to demonstrate, whether he knew it or not, that Mr. Morris's motorcycle is louder than UTV's. When we just left the house 2 Saturdays ago and took it up to up Lake Donwood, Ringwood Road, and we could hear him going all the way down Ringwood Road to Johnsburg Road, just driving it naturally, not like a hothead or anything. So, motorcycles are loud too, but I've heard a lot of people talk about how loud they are, but so are motorcycles. And if I could, Mr. Barrett, you mentioned the Lions Club donated money to this. Is that in the same way that the Lions Club hosts meat raffles for the kids' sports at Raymond's and that kind of thing? And the money they collect there at that meat raffle is donated to the Lions? Is that how they participated, or do they actually donate Lions money?
They donated Lions money into this.
I didn't know they did that. I thought it was about reading glasses and hearing aids or something for kids and whatnot.
Also to benefit the village is what they do. There's actually a couple Lions representatives here as well.
Okay.
So they also do for reading to that. And unfortunately, sometimes when the need for that, given the strength of the insurance policies nowadays, gives everyone the ability to have a lot of that stuff just naturally through general insurance, through Obamacare and such, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Lions have donated to a lot of other things too, like that, the golf carts, they have the golf cart raffle, they thought that since we were going to designate pass and designate maybe mat, and they have signs that, and they were having golf cart raffles, they've had 2 of them, that would be appropriate to donate some money to the fundraiser, but they also donated, I can go on and on, they donated originally for the lights at the football field. Yes, their mission is really eyes, ears, and diabetes, but, you know, they built a pavilion out here in the park. Okay, they're looking at building maybe another pavilion for the village, so they do all kinds of stuff like that.
And that's just my lack of knowledge about the line stuff, so that's why I asked. And I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, just, and again, maybe it's, just because of, I find it interesting how many things I hear about myself, and I think I'm approachable, and yet I hear all these things that I never said. But I hear I said them and whatnot, but, you, and you know, I respect you, but you were at the ordinance committee meeting. You made a very passionate speech, including referencing a village official.
Sure.
Who you stated, and I'm going off memory here, but you stated that a village official directed an individual to post a picture of a UTV on private property.
Correct, yes.
And was there anything to back that up? Was there any?
Other than the individual said that if I wanted to, I could possibly share some written correspondence.
Okay.
But I left it at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the point was clear. My point was really at that time that any posting of pictures doing an alleged illegal activity on property that wasn't their own and wasn't village property, to me, I found that very, I guess, inappropriate for anyone to be doing. And the circumstances had to do with, one, there was a UTV posted on the top of the Shiloh Hitch sledding hill, and that individual who owns that property is a resident here in town. He lives over in Dutch Creek. And when that person posted that picture on the Facebook page, there was zero verification that that wasn't the actual property owner.
Right.
And they were holding that person out to, and that wasn't the village trustee, it was the person, the administrator of that Facebook page, was holding that person out as doing some sort of illegal activity. And I called that person to the plate and said, why would you do that? How do you know that's not the owner? And I said the name of the individual. They said, well, I didn't know that. And I said, that's your problem. And then I said that there was also pictures being posted of the trail behind the school property through the forest. And I said, you know, one, why would somebody complain about somebody else's private property? If the school isn't complaining, what right as an individual do I have? It would be no different than me driving my golf cart through your yard and Beth complaining about it. It's not her property to complain about, nor is it my property to complain about. So now I may say to you, or she might say to you, hey, I saw Jimmy Barrett driving through your yard. Do you have a problem with it? Absolutely, that's a whole different story. I get it. And then the other instance was the Lake Dawnwood property, which I was, born and raised in Lake Dawnwood. My parents are still residents there. And the immediate grounds surrounding the pond and the trail entrance off of Grorson is homeowners association property there. And I found it very strange that anyone would post a picture of the association's property claiming that people shouldn't be driving there when indeed that is property managed and owned by the homeowners of Lake Dawnwood. So once again, it's kind of a private property. Someone's issuing a complaint about somebody else's private property when indeed the owner of the private property did complain. So that's just kind of where I had.
You're talking about like that 10-foot easement or what, I don't know what that is. The defunct homeowners association like Dawnwood.
Sure, yeah.
Owns
I know they haven't been.
feet around there.
They haven't been active. Well, actually, if you look at the parcel is kind of an odd shape along the side that comes over to Grorson, and then around the pond at 10, 15, 20 feet, something like that, yeah. So I know it straddles around the pond that goes over to Lake Dawnwood Drive, and then around, and then the village owns a couple parcels there. Our school district owns one of the other parcels, and then one neighbor owns the other parcel. And then the big loop that goes all the way over to Lake Dawnwood is the homeowners association. So, it was, I guess, the only points that I was trying to make at that point in time.
So should we not have a sign up on Grorson? And do we not have a right to that come down?
Depends where the sign's posted.
What does the sign say?
No motorized vehicles. The problem being that on village property, next to the pond, people have created their own,
Are they
dirt
going
bike,
from the,
ATV track, you know?
from the Lake Dawnwood property onto village property? I don't know that.
Well, they are.
Contiguous. It's contiguous.
Originally, the trail went through there, before the village even owned it, that's where it went. So it continued to keep going through there.
Well, off of Brorson though, I don't think the village owns any of that property.
We do not.
No.
So any sign, and this is obviously just Jim Barrett, a resident of Johnsburg, saying, I don't understand how the village can dictate what could be driven off of Brorson. Obviously, on the flip side, that, you know, that's village-owned property, and I believe the one is a park, and that track that went around was a little kid in the ATV that lives right over there.
Was the sign just put up?
Yes.
Or is it, yeah?
So,
There's a lot more than a little kid on an ATV driving through that park.
I'm sure.
Can I comment?
Maybe that sign should be moved back to where people leave the defunct homeowners association property and onto the village property, just so.
I mean, right now, it's nice, because you got the fence going on,
Right.
but I can't go through it now.
Can I
They
comment
can't
on-
drive through their period, Scott?
Not now, because
yeah, big.
Big fence for the,
stuff around it, so it's protected now, or you can't go through it anyway.
On concerning the school property,
Mhm.
we know very well the school is very unhappy with vehicles on their property. We've met with them numerous times.
For
Put
many
up
years,
numerous
we've met with
signs.
them. And
We
so
see
has the
golf carts
snowmobile
and
club.
quads and side-by-sides going on with signs posted every 50 feet.
Sure.
So people are completely ignoring it. They knock down a
They
sign, one
pulled
sign,
out,
they
it was
pulled
in a
it
trail
down.
right around them.
They put signs over signs.
Yeah.
That's not your club that's doing it. I'm not saying, we don't know, you know.
Right.
The
But
schools
we-
even ask, hey, can
It's
you put...
interesting, I sit on the school board,
Yeah.
so I'll ask more about it. I wasn't
Talk to
aware.
Tom
It's
Ford.
Never been, the only instance I've ever, well, this is a whole different topic.
Right, I'm just saying there, in that
ATV
case,
was
it
a
was,
problem, I guess.
it was the school would say, hey, tell us if something's going on.
Yeah.
The police are encouraging us to tell the school, and we're being encouraged to, well, who do we tell? And,
Well, and then when you mention, if I can interrupt, with the police, we discussed earlier to call the police when you see something. And there was an incident that spanned over several days, and there were 4 of us neighbors, and we didn't even know the other one had called the police and reported an incident. And when the police came over and we met with them, they said, this happens so often, we get so many calls on this, or I go, what should we do? And they suggested, the officer, we got to get the village involved. And that's what put us in contact with Kyle, and that's why we're here today.
The
And
police
school
officer
district.
directed you
Mhm.
contact someone.
Because they had been getting
This was last
a
year,
lot of
correct?
calls.
You
This
said
was
nothing.
last year.
Okay.
This was like in the fall.
I think it's before we started
October.
talking about this.
Right, no, this was, yeah.
because we're like, who do we
We're
don't
like,
want to
what do we
start warning our
do, you
neighbors.
know?
and just- and-
Because we actually had a guy that has an ATV, and it wasn't you, so I'm not saying it was you. I mean, he went out there one year and he was cutting down trees, and he was leaving a stump this high. And the snowmobile club had issues with that too, but, you know, we have a barrier. We've got a great relationship with the school, you know. We work well with them, and the woods has been great. It's a walking path, kids ride bikes, and we've had to literally take money out of our pockets to fill in the ruts that have been created on that property by the carts. So, you know,
Well, you
it's our backyard, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you
we
shouldn't
have it in our
be funding
front.
any repairs to school property.
No, we
That's not-
just,
that's
no,
not
it wasn't
money.
a big deal. It was just stuff we had. It wasn't a big deal, so.
Mr.
Well, what-
Claus, go ahead. He's been waiting patiently over there.
Well, folks, people that don't know me, my background comes from, I worked at a motorsports dealer, I still do, for 19 years. I've offered the village and anyone assistance on, I think one of the big problems is the unknown. I've heard several people mistakenly calling ATVs several times, and there's been ATV issues, so some of that's the unknown. You have a motorcycle that I was riding, that Mr. Curry explained, straight pipes going down the road. If you're out doing your gardening and you look up and you see me going 50 miles an hour, you're so used to seeing a motorcycle or a truck flashing the radio. We might be mad about it, but 9 out of 10 times we go about our day. I'm with you guys, and I would offer my assistance if there's any adjustments that need to be made towards UTVs and helping dissect or differ between the two different types and all the different machines that are out there. But I think it's because they're unknown, and you could take a Razor 4 1000 that looks like Batmobile and drive by your house at 20 miles an hour. Because you're not used to seeing that, you automatically assume that guy was going 50. And they are noisy. They are noisy. Some of the sport ones are noisier. But I think some of the issues attributed to the unknown, and you're not used to seeing something that, well, go by your house. You know, however long you've lived there, you can see a truck, a kid, a radio blasting, a motorcycle, a hot rod, go out on a Sunday. You see 10 Razors go by, it's odd still, it's new to everyone, you know. So my thing is that I think that a lot of it is the unknown and not calling them, like if you see a kid on an ATV and then assume it's a UTV or a UTV that we have, call it an ATV. I think that there's some things that can be adjusted, and I'd be offered, or I would answer any questions I could, being there as long as I have. So,
What do you mean by adjusted?
well, like you said, like a noise ordinance. Like a lot of these people that have like a 1000 cc machine, if you do take it up north and you put a different pipe and a turbo and a tune on the thing and then use it around town, is it going to be a little noisier? Sure. And maybe you can't do that. I don't know. I can't make these calls. I'm just saying that there are things that if there ever gets to be a point where adjustments like that need to be made, I offer my assistance in helping that, knowing different models of machines.
Thank you.
Mike, when you say adjustments, are you saying there's adjustments that can be made to the machine that makes it less noisy? Is that what
There's adjustments that can be made to the machines to make them louder.
Right.
And I think that, you know, that might be an issue, but,
Right.
you know, I don't want to open that for everyone. I'm just saying that there are things that can make them louder. You know, a side-by-side is going to be like...
or a car.
But yeah, and again, my whole point was that it's not very common still for someone that doesn't have one to look up while they're mowing their grass and see the Batmobile, that I call it, you know, because it looks like it's going 100 when it's going 10. You know, so that may be an adjustment for some people that immediately assume that man's doing something illegal. I think that's part of it too. Some get a bad rap, I think.
I just, being a fourth generation Johnsburg person, I know Johnsburg is very competitive, so, you know, if you got a, in a good way, you know, I'm gonna one-up my buddy who's got, you know, he's got the 1,000 horsepower, I'm getting a 1,500 horsepower, and I'm gonna have a better one, and that's just Johnsburg, that's the way we are.
You're
very
right.
competitive.
There's a lot of them that are limited. Like I have one that holds 6 people. I've coached baseball for 5 years and helped with football, and a lot of times I pick kids up. But mine is governed at 40, and I don't think I've ever gone over 25 or 30. You know, I mean, there are some that can do more, and I would like to say that the last thing I can tell you is it goes back to that policing thing. I know we've all tried a lot, the people that are here doing the right thing, but it is the minority and not the majority. I can promise you that.
I have yet to see any of those vehicles stop at the stop sign by our house. No one stops. And, you know, I agree, bicyclists don't either, they should obey, you know, the roads or whatever, but until something happens, you know, it just doesn't seem to be a concern.
Well, I think that's coming, and I can't speak for the board, but I
You know,
think
it is, if,
the fines and the penalties are gonna come, if I'm
I just
correct.
think that, you know, a lot of it just doesn't seem.
The fines, you know,
I understand.
the fines are gonna be a lot stiffer. I don't know if that's good or bad, but, you know, I think they're a little too steep in my own personal opinion, but that's what, you know, they want.
Are there any
Okay.
driving under the influence?
Yes.
Rules of the road.
It's
They're
rules of
all-
the
okay, so
road.
that
You gotta
applies.
have- You gotta have a
Same.
driver's license, you gotta be, you know, more.
Anything?
Valid license.
So they're not, no, saying, you know, bar hopping, they're gonna...
And most of the
And,
way bad.
So the whole idea of the PAT system is to make it better, right? So we're not rutting up like your situation, is to make it better.
Or bypass your
Right.
house altogether.
Yeah, just as you're thinking about where to route people, just consider the houses that you're routing them by, and it's
Right.
gonna change, it's gonna affect them, you know.
It changed our neighborhood
It changed our neighborhood a
drastically.
bit,
I mean,
and so-
some of the neighbors here can vouch for that.
Especially if you're on Ernest, and that was nobody ever went in that street. Now that's the main cut-through for
Right.
these vehicles, so it changed their streets a lot.
And
All right, next
Okay.
one.
Ed,
And we're trying to listen to everybody here. Yes, ma'am.
okay, I have been a member of a snowmobile association, not only a club, the county, the state, and the international. I've done this for over 30 years. We have a wonderful relationship with the school, and they allow us to go on the backside because we help take care of it and maintain it. You're gonna get those, I mean, we have renegades ourselves. We have so much trouble with them. You're going to get those kind of people. When it comes to the noise ordinance, there is a state ordinance that the snowmobiles cannot be used, they cannot put an aftermarket muffler or some, muffler, other than what came on the sled. So there is something to look into as far as your noise goes. If they're beeping them up or whatever, there is an ordinance, and it's a state, and that can be handled. You will get the catch me if you can. It's just like snowmobiles. My phone rings off the hook, people know who I am, they know I'm as involved in the area that I am, and my phone gets the phone calls. We got somebody running through it, I would love to say there's something you can do, there's nothing you can do. You can try. Do not stop somebody and take care of it yourself. We have had people who've tried to do it and they've gotten beaten up for it because people are crazy right now. It's dangerous to do it that way. And these are great guys that just saw somebody doing something, pulled them over and said, hey man, you know, you really don't want to do that. Well, if they've been out drinking or just thinking, who the hell are you to stop me from this? And the next thing you know, we've got a brawl going on. You need to be careful with that too. But there is a noise situation that you can look into. There is a way of policing. We have a snow patrol. Our own people go out with the sheriff, and we are out on the trails, and there is a way of checking. I mean, when we stop them, as a public, as just a citizen, we can ask them to stop, and we can wait for the police to come up. They're probably out on the trail somewhere else. But you can stop them, but you can't stop you can't hold them there and wait for them. They have every right to keep on going, because as just a citizen, you have no right at all. So the only way you're going to be able to do it is if you can get police to be out on those paths or in those areas where they're complaining and have them being patrolled. And that's, again,
And the police
flip of a
can't
coin.
be there all
You
the
can't be there all the time.
Most of our paths are going to be
Right.
connecting paths, I think.
Right.
You know, they're connecting, like Rescue Squad Park is a connection
Yeah.
between there and the path half times and behind half times that goes out to, Fairview Avenue where you can cross, and Fairview's a legal street. I mean, obviously, we don't allow them on all the streets,
Right.
okay? So there's only certain streets that they're allowed on, so we have to, the paths we're talking about it's not like a snowmobile where you're,
Right.
on a trail all the time
Right.
or whatever, although maybe we'd like to use some of those trails, and maybe we could help maintain some of them too, if it's a connection that would be beneficial to everybody.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
You gotta work together to get it. So that's what we do with the schools, that's what we do with all our snowmobiles, not all, most of our snowmobile trails are on private property. We, every year, talk to each person that owns that piece of property to see if we can put a trail through their property. They want it moved, we move it. If they want it, say no, then we go around them and we find another place. But it's something where you have to work within each other, and you have to take care of it
It's
that
a
way.
lot of effort and a lot of
Yeah,
time, and it's...
Yeah,
What is the
we had a great year this year, but how many years we don't even ride it?
What is the liability issue and
Pardon?
exposure to private?
Okay,
Property
private property,
owner.
if a private property owner allows you to take and go through their property, and you don't pay them anything for that, you don't reimburse them anything, then it's the same rule as if you get hit in the head at a ball game and with a baseball. It's the same law. It's at that point, now, they will try to take them to court, the minute they take, because of course, anybody that's suing is going to go it for as many people as they can and find the deepest pocket. But we have never had to pay out a single lawsuit because, first of all, the law, ours is mostly farmers, of course. They would have to take time out of their own schedules to go to court, but it's one time. They go one time, that's it, they're thrown out, and that's all there is to it. Because all they do is they testify to the fact that we gave them permission, and no, they don't pay us anything for them to be able to go through their property. And they are not held liable for anything. I forgot the name of the law, but there's one on the book.
Does the Snowmobile Association carry insurance
Yes,
for
sir.
landowners, right?
We do, the clubs do, and every club usually makes their members carry insurance as well.
Well, all our carts have to be insured. We check for insurance, that they have to be insured if they're gonna ride them on the road, just like a automobile, so all of, that's insured. I was just wondering if, a contact person, maybe, how that liability insurance works, maybe it's something that, these guys have donated some money, maybe it's something that, if we want to expand on, that we can look into.
If you want to look into anything with insurance, George Thompson Insurance in
I talk to
McHenry.
George all the time.
He's a snowmobiler, and he knows exactly what those laws are and everything, and he'll be more.
Maybe Michael could help us with the village's liability and...
I'm sure he can.
Yeah.
I have a question. How are we...
Or we could take a question first.
How are we educating the village as a whole, right? Those of us that have machines, we get the paperwork, we go through the process, we know where we can go. I understand we're putting a map out. That map's going to go to the people that are paying for registration for their machines. We have 5 members of this community who have been here for decades, and unfortunately, they know nothing. They're here based off of only what they see and the opinions they've formed off of that. They have no idea what we are doing, what we're talking about, where people can and can't go. So I think as a community, and I could be wrong because I don't know what you guys are doing, and I know as a club, because we failed at this at our meat raffle on Saturday, because not one time did we stop and say, hey, guys, this is great, this event, the outpouring is unbelievable for strictly word of mouth, but what we need to do is everybody needs to follow the rules. This is important for us to keep this going. There are signs, there are paths, there are rules we have to follow, and we should do that. So what is Johnsburg doing to get that information out to people like this, that just see people drive by all day?
That's a good point.
Well, that's a good point, and, we will work at that more with, once we're going to do the map. I know the Waterway is coming out with an app. I'm looking into an app for phones that will show you where you're at on your phone, what roads you can go on. They're doing that for the Waterway right now, okay? Leading this year. That would be something where we wouldn't have to redo maps all the time. I know that Bobby and Jamie has offered to print the maps for the village for nothing. Okay, he's here tonight. So I think we got a lot of positive things happening, and I think we want to expand on the past. That's the whole idea of it. We want to, that's why we're looking, like, I'm glad Sue's here to give her take on what the snowmobile clubs do. I'm sure Michael will have a lot of advice for us on liability issues, but, pretty much we got liability issues when kids are playing football. If the soccer kid hits a goal post, there's a liability issue. It's all part of doing business that we're going to allow the non-highway vehicles, which we have decided to do.
If you are going to put out a map, put your rules on the map.
Understood, but
How does
that map get distributed to the people that aren't?
Well, that...
Right, because the only people that are getting the information are the people who are registering vehicles in town.
We get our maps are through, we do, each county does its own map. The maps we take and we give to the club members.
Who's looking at those maps? Snowmobiles.
Right.
Right. So again, our maps in town here,
But
who's going to look at those
but
maps?
the people know that if they stop at, it's like if we go up north, first thing we do is we'll stop at a bar or a restaurant or any, the sports vehicles, you know, the Yamaha place and the Aracat place, and we'll ask them for a map of the area, so that we know where we're going. Now, granted, our trails are in woodsy and out and around and everything else, but it's a start. I mean, now, ours is police, because you cannot ride a snowmobile by yourself unless you're the age of 12 or over.
Well, we
And
can't
you have to
ride
have a safety certificate, you have to go to a safety.
Right, but then there's all this discussion.
That's really weak.
Right.
You gotta be 16, and
Right.
really, if you get a permit for the non-highway golf cart or non-highway side-by-side, you're gonna get a map. I mean, if you're permitted, you're gonna get a map. If you're not permitted, there's no way we'll ever control
The
that.
question about the people that don't have
And
golf carts, how are they?
we're gonna have it on our website with my goal.
It's on there
So
already.
it's on there already.
You can see what's happening. We keep talking about we want to bring the community together, but we've immediately created two different groups of people, because we have the people who are informed, and we have the people who aren't informed. So all this tension and animosity is coming because these people, they're, like what Mike said, not only are they not informed about what we're doing, they're completely uneducated about the machines that we have to ride around town. We're calling UTVs, ATVs, they're, you know, it'd be like calling the motorcycle a car. They're completely two different things. So, you know, I'm just, you know, I don't know, we post maps at the local bars, you know, things like that. I feel like we've created a divide by not providing the information to the people that aren't part of the karting community.
It's part of growing pains.
Yeah.
Sure,
It's
it's
part
what-
of growing
I just-
pains,
and I just
how
wanted
you
to bring
grow
that point up
and,
because-
how you grow and get that information there. It's on the website already, right, Vinnie? And, you know, all this stuff has come because we wanted to expand. You guys are doing, you know, we went from 50 carts to 100 carts to almost 300 carts and, you know, side by side. So, you know, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing all this. That's why you did the fundraiser, so we can, you know, pursue those avenues and make more paths and make it legal and make it more fun and try to not create problems, but bring the community together and go forward. So-
Take your energy and your enthusiasm and reach out within yourselves to the rest of the community. So it's not like...
You can bet that these people that are here, that are in that club, are more than willing to share that information.
Right.
But the problem is, people aren't coming up to us and asking for information. What's happening is they're jumping on social media, and they're sharing pictures, and they're saying people are here, and all that does is just create more tension, because now you've got one person complaining, and now 25 other people have jumped on complaining. So now you've got 30 people complaining, when if somebody would have just asked the question,
No, that was like, we don't...
well, that's part of my point. That's exactly
Make
part of my
yourself
point.
known, we have this organization, here's who you contact, if you see any issues, here's the procedure you take, if you see someone, you see a 9-year-old kid going on a quad down the street, which I saw 2 days ago, 2 of them.
It's a great idea.
Who do I call?
So are you aware that this information is on our village website?
It is.
Yeah.
So I feel like, again, there's a fail by the police officer, who simply could have said, hey, check out the village webpage, there's some information on there. If it doesn't answer your questions, come back to us and we'll see what we can do.
We're just getting going with the maps and everything, so it's new. That's
Okay.
why we're bringing it up. Could you go to the next part, please, Ben?
Next part?
Yeah,
Sunnyside?
whatever one you got next. Yeah.
We spend as much time on Sunnyside as we do with that one. We made it order dinner.
You can do that.
It'd be breakfast.
Breakfast.
So for ordinance, we looked at continuing the path that's currently being used, instead of shooting willy-nilly through the field, keep the golf carts and UTVs along the tree line, which don't shoot in the parking lot. You can utilize the parking lot, and then there's also this rendered here to possibly look to put in a little parking lot there, but the question we had was, there are no soccer games here, it's only soccer practice, so why would we put a parking lot down there?
I don't think you need it.
So we said no on the ordinance, but we like the idea of shooting a path through, getting to the parking lot.
I don't think anybody's got a problem with that one.
Next one.
Just out of curiosity, is there communication between the village and the owners of the property that we're, you know, we put in a stone path at some point, over here.
So Joe owns that parcel?
To the west there, so have we communicated with Angelo's or, you whoever owns that property, say, are you okay with us directing a flow of traffic onto your private property, or are we just waiting to see if they say anything or not?
So the village owns that parcel
Correct.
along Channel Beach and Johnsburg, but I will reach out to Angelo's in regards to seeing if they were okay with access into their parking
Well,
lot, that roundabout.
Once you cross the stone and you come to Johnsburg Road, you can only cross Johnsburg Road,
Straight.
or drive on the private property, correct?
Drive on the Valmar Center
I don't
property.
think Angelo has a problem with it, but I think it's worth checking.
Good point.
Since it's bringing up an
Yeah.
issue, but I
I'm
think,
sure they communicate with
I
them.
mean,
Make
if
sure
he
it's
doesn't
okay.
want to, I think most of those people that are on carts and ATVs, he's glad to see them pull into his store, and I think Stuckey's are glad to see him pull into there, and we're out here to support the businesses that we have. That's one of the things that I think golf carts do.
I
Some
agree.
people get in their
I'm just-
golf carts on the weekend, and they never
Yeah.
move their cars, so.
No, I agree, I'm just saying that
We're gonna
we've created a
contact
path to that property, and we should probably make sure it's okay.
And Tom, I think it's a good point, if you're gonna route traffic through a neighborhood, talk to the people on the street you're routing it through and say, we're proposing, and let them have some input on it, instead of just doing it without asking.
I think that goes back to the whole village ordinance about, just a generalization of allowing golf carts on streets within the village limits that are under 25 miles an hour or something like that. That's how it's written, so.
What is it,
I don't think
What
you
is
can
it?
have
35 miles
maybe
an hour.
speaking in terms, but I don't know.
35 miles an
Do
hour.
that specifically.
But it's just, they do go on certain streets, depending on, if they're going a certain way, they're gonna go on the same street pretty much all the time. So somebody's gonna get the brunt of it, and it's gonna affect them.
Beth,
So
what's your
be
input on this?
polite or nice,
Sunnyside Park.
involve them in,
You know,
If they have an
I
opinion,
run
they
vehicles
say.
on my committee, but it's a natural flow of traffic there.
You got a nice parking lot there to go down already, it's paved.
Right.
You know, putting a path the other way, I think, would be a good idea. Designated path.
All right, no other questions? You want to go to Hickory Pond? So on Hickory Pond, our first initial thought was no parking there, why not just park on the road or the cul-de-sac? And Biddy mentioned that future plans show possibly a gazebo or something like that in there, is that correct, Ed? We're thinking?
Well, I was thinking of trying to get somebody to donate it to some type of gazebo in there, sort of create a picnic area. I know Mr. Dydrich has talked about it a few times, that he'd like to have a barbecue there, so he can catch his fish, fillet them, and put them on the grill.
That sounds great, but on my committee, until we have plans to move forward with the gazebo or any other thing, we felt no parking lot should be in there at the current moment.
I don't know if you need one,
Right.
to be honest
We
with
just
you. I
felt
think
parking on
it's
the side of the street or in the cul-de-sac somewhere is.
Yeah, they can pull over that.
I'm gonna say, is it
culvert.
safer just to pull in there a little bit and park there than to be out on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see like
I'm not saying
20
you
golf
cut
carts
a parking
going.
lot and stone it, but I mean, what's the difference if you're up in the grass there and you park?
I don't think anybody's got a problem with the grass area. The problem would be is that it's so tight around the perimeter that we own. I don't think we can allow carts to go around.
No, you
the
can never go
pond.
around that
Yeah.
lot.
And it's.
But I'm just saying that on the lot that we own, I don't see why you can't park there, drag your fishing pole and stuff, and then.
I don't think anybody's got a problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't want them down by the water.
Your park improvements there, right?
Right.
But we have, we're in the house.
It's a fairly busy road.
Any
A
other
lot of
comments?
traffic going
Tom?
down that road.
No.
No? Want to go to Rescue Squad Park, please? Then for Rescue Squad, I did meet with Gary Barla, who's a representative from the community club, and he said the community club is more than willing to work with the village. They just want to be on the same page. They just do not want the golf carters or UTVs to drive between first base side and the shed, ruining the grass. So our proposed route would be go a little further past the community club, hang a left in the parking lot, get onto the designated path. Once again, this is all 5 miles per hour. I believe we were planning on getting this paved, and then we'll shoot you up to Johnsburg Road. One thing one of my committee members did say, and I did get a couple, I guess I agree with this, was possibly do we put like a little triangle stop sign once you get into by Stedman to cross? And another committee member asked why. He goes, well, at least we're putting it out there like a snowmobile trail to make sure if a 16-year-old kid is driving this route going across the street at half times, he sees this little stop sign.
You know, it's almost like leaving a parking lot, or you know, a stop sign at every parking lot.
We said that too, and a couple of people, so it was just an idea that was tossed around in my committee. But the rest of it was good with driving the path right through it is, and getting
Well,
signage
there's
up.
just a lot of people walk that path also, okay? So it's, you know, it's the same scenario as you have up at Hiller. Once you pave it, people are walking on it, golf carts are going to have to yield to the pedestrians.
I agree.
They have the right of way, or the bicycles.
I want to point out where our committee said possible parking area, this red dot, thinking about a possible pull-off 20-foot by 8-foot for cars so you can walk to the gazebo, but we were unsure with the elevations. We wanted to get out there and take a look, but that was a talk we had. Because if you're going to enjoy the gazebo, and you're on a path that drives right past it, you know, if you go up there with the family, like I've done before, there's 4 golf carts, where are you going to park?
I think when we had burgers in the Berg, there were quite a few golf carts there.
Right, and the community club didn't want us to park in
And I
their
don't
parking
think it
lot.
was a problem.
Right.
The community club does not have a problem with the parking lot. From what they told me at the board meeting last night.
Okay, then we change it.
They wanna come, they want
This
that
route.
line.
Not through here.
Correct. And move your hand fingers down a little bit there, Jimmy, between where the bleachers used to be, right where you were, not through there, but down a little bit. The carts are going between there and the fence, not there's the fence, yeah, they're going through that area.
Right.
And there's a regular path that the grass is getting beat up and stuff, and I understand that, you know, I mean, that sort of.
Yeah. And we don't want people going the opposite direction around either.
Right, I talked to Gary, also said we could work together since this is our community. We're the ones allowing the carts and UTVs to help supply signage if needed down there to direct, you know, besides the path, do not enter, something like that.
Well, I think the whole idea behind all of paths and stuff is to have signage to show people where to go, especially in these connecting areas.
Correct.
The roads are, all the roads are,
Roads are roads.
under 35 miles an hour, so you can't go on the other roads. And,
Got $9,000 to get you started on that.
we thank you for that. Okay, anybody else want to say anything while we're on the topic? I mean, this is not really, don't have open discussion like this all the time, but it's all good. It's all good to have.
And thank you for doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I'd just like to say thank you for letting us speak. I had no thought other than just being able to speak in the beginning, so I thought everybody was very polite, very cordial, and we had a great conversation tonight, so thank you to everybody.
We broke the rules for you, Jim. Okay. Let's go then. Okay. What's the pleasure here?
Sorry, guys.
I was hoping to hear from our village attorney.
We can hear from her. What would you like to hear?
Well, we were talking about liabilities and all, and the
Okay.
law, so I thought the attorney could help with that.
I think first, with respect to enforcement of the ordinance, the designated path, that could be challenging in the absence of a police officer witnessing the incident. There's no precedent of which I'm aware in which people going on the Kennedy to Chicago can stop at a police station and explain they passed somebody on the expressway who was going really fast. Can you issue a citation? Two, I think it is challenging as well to put in place a noise standard and attempt to enforce that. Same situation. It's not very helpful for a court hear one person's description of the noise in question and try to enforce that. Absent the decibel meter. That's the issue with motorcycles, it's the issue with cars. I think another issue with respect to potential injuries. In those instances, the village is inevitably a target because of its deep pockets. The village may not feel like it has deep pockets.
We don't.
A plaintiff's attorney may misunderstand that, and nonetheless feel compelled that when you have an injured client, you're going to name everyone as broadly as possible, including the landowner, in which case it may be the village, and there is sympathy on the part of a finder of fact, which could be a jury, it could be a judge, and in respect to trial, as to whether the village owed a duty to that person who got hurt, that the cart path should have been designed differently, whether signs were in place, whether there was a design. Despite the Tort Immunity Act, which benefits villages, towns, cities, there are still actions brought every day. And there's naturally sympathy that when someone is hurt, maybe above and beyond the insurance, if they even have insurance, that villages, municipalities are an easy target. The money is not seen the same as if it were an individual. So in terms of liability, this is something that, despite the tort immunity that the village has the benefit of, we still get sued. Now, there are circumstances where that motion to dismiss may be brought that clearly, in this instance, the village has no duty of care to the person who got injured. And I think that Claudette was speaking the other night of the young woman who got hurt with goalposts playing soccer. If I understand, Claudette was calling us the other night, the village was dismissed through a motion. That's unusual. I think enough of us in the room have been through litigation that, in my experience, no one gets up on the stand for a minute and the judge tosses the case. My experience with the Nest litigation, the Hemphill litigation regarding the wire credit, we even had a claim for $1,200 for reimbursement of the village. Nothing moves quickly, and then two, especially when there is sympathy for that person who got hurt. So is this something that, can I guess as to what the potential premiums may be if the village faces a claim for someone getting hurt and saying, listen, you didn't have a network in place to protect me? No. I also think that if you're to ask the underwriter what's going to happen if we have this ordinance, I think it's difficult for them to say, because I think when it comes to carts, despite other villages having carts out there, we're unique. I don't think they are as prolific on a per capita basis as they are in Cary or McHenry. I think we're in an unusual situation. So I invite the village to inform itself and ask the underwriter to comment, evaluate, predict what they think that may happen in the future with an accident. Just realizing there's always an attempt to articulate that there's liability on the village if someone gets hurt. You know, think of the other things too. The insurance companies tend to settle. So a case a couple of years ago, a person on a motorcycle takes a curve too quickly in one of my smaller villages, wipes out, and even though there's not duty to go above and beyond what they were doing with respect to the road maintenance, the insurance company very quickly signed a check for $30,000. They consider that to be the cost of defense, $30,000. And do I think that the underwriter takes that into account when they assess the village premium for the following year? I do. You know, rightfully or wrongfully. There may be a curve that maybe there's two accidents. So I can't guess, I can't give you a reasonable guess as to what this would impact in terms of insurance. But if someone gets hurt, there's going to be a suit and likely a settlement. As you know, as the suits we've gone through, even when we do want trial very quickly, you can't get it. And that's especially true the last year or so.
But that liability has nothing to do, we're not talking about getting rid of golf carts or getting rid of side-by-sides. So that liability's there regardless. I mean, you just mentioned it, it's on the road, so it's really no different. The liability's there. Okay,
I
the
have a
liability's
question.
there when you play sports in the park. If a kid hit the goal park, all that liability's there. If we were talking about getting rid of it completely, I'd see what you'd understand, but you just gave an incident where a motorcycle went around on the street and dumped it, and they thought the village was
If
liable.
there's an accident, there's a suit.
I would, from my perspective, disagree that a park, Hillard Park specifically, that was created for children to play sports is, and we allow golf carts and UTVs to use the paths, is different than allowing golf carts and UTVs to use the streets.
That was going to be my question. Would the liability be different in a park versus the road? Do you suspect?
That's the question I was asking.
If there's more accidents. If you tell me there's not going to be any accidents in the park, but what I maintain is that if there's an accident that occurs, characterizing the statement made tonight, it's not going to be helpful to the village in terms of liability if only a majority follow the rules. If there's a minority out there, small, substantial, otherwise, that causes an accident, that'll show up in our premiums.
And if I could just comment on the golf, or excuse me, not the golf, the soccer goal situation, and Claudette, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but, I mean, the way it's being described, it sounds like the village was held harmless in that situation.
Well, no, let me be
No,
clear. I
okay.
mean, even when it was held by the judge that there was no duty, what do you think the attorney's fees were to extract the village from that situation? So there's that cost of defense. And so what I maintain is, I don't know.
You don't have to give us your tax return.
And Tom, by all means, hire that attorney, he's busy.
Well, and if I recall correctly, and this is where Claudette can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you and I had this conversation a while back. In that situation, I don't believe that child was just playing the soccer game. I believe someone was hanging on a goal or did something to tip over a goal that was not strapped down to the ground as it was supposed to be. And that's how that situation happened. So it wasn't just a kid was playing football and then through the course of the game got hurt, and the village has a similar liability there versus...
It's a matter of, it's math. There's more circumstances or more opportunities for potential liability. It's like traffic count. There's going to be more accidents at the corner of Algonquin and Rainbow Road than smaller intersections. There's more opportunities for accidents. Is that true here? I would imagine, to some degree.
Thank you. Definitely
Since we
is.
started using golf carts in Johnsburg, have there been a lot of golf cart accidents?
No. Now, maybe some unreported that we wouldn't even know about, but, you know, Cheryl clarified that there was only 2 cars that ran into golf carts. So,
Tom, I agree with you asking about that. It's a very good point. And on the other half, I think of Chapel Hill Country Club. We own that, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, we hired a company to manage it, right?
Yes, we did.
And we have insurance on that?
Yes, we're additional insured, I think.
Right, and that to me is one thing I've been thinking about with this coming up, this meeting. I'm like, well, here we got a golf course we own, and we know when golf tournaments or guys get in leagues, what's happening. You got a bunch of guys, primarily, and women, that like to partake in a lot of cocktails, and they're driving that golf cart all around. The same thing can happen there. That's what I was thinking. I understand that the risk of public safety is number 1 versus kids, absolutely, top of my mind. Number 2 is, you know, we could be liable for that, so it's a risk we're taking by allowing it in our town here and by owning a golf course. But it's a very good question, I agree with you. You know, what are we liable for? You know, it's just like any other thing, you could get charged for stupidest thing, just because you're, you know, additional list of a shirt, you know, you're on it.
But can we limit our liability by minimizing golf carts and parks?
That's
Because that's what we want to do, is limit our liability.
Right, and to me, in my committee, I thought that was a fair rendering of what we just put through. I like Tiller, and I think, you know, Tom was always against, you know, because of all the children there, and he's up there with football all the time, and I thought that was a fair compromise to get the egress through there, which is a nice little shortcut.
Not just Tom, it's me too.
You too. And then that nice little parking lot where they can park, you know, and then walk and watch your son
Right.
play football, you know, so I
So
thought
that
it
would
was
be a
good.
follow-up question. If we have designated areas within the park, does that limit our liability a little bit versus, you can go on all the paths?
Message, and I think too,
If we got signage.
you know, the other things to determine if it's gonna be a busy day. If it's one of those fields that there's games going on all day, does it hurt to have an officer there? No.
Even if you have a big event, and like, you know, when they do the fireworks, we block one side of the road, you can't park on it, so the ambulance can get in and stuff like that. If you have a big football tournament or baseball tournament, you may have to limit where those carts go, completely. Maybe they don't, maybe you block them off, or say they have to stay in the parking lot. I mean, that's a different situation when you have a bigger type event.
The parents on my son's baseball team behave better than the officers were.
Human nature being what it is.
Secondly, you know, to the extent that, you know, say that we incorporate these activities, the designated parking lot, the designated path, where we put appropriate signage. This also might be important enough that once we adopt this ordinance in whatever form it is, that we readdress it from time to time. I know there's a tendency to finish this project, let's close the book on this and put it to the side. This might be something that we have to look at from time to time. You know, there's sensitivities here. There's motorized vehicles, there's pedestrians, there's neighbor concerns, and what I'd encourage is that we look at this from time to time to see how we can improve it. You know, this isn't something where...
There's always room for improvement.
Right.
We're doing it per month with the ordinance committee.
Every day, perhaps.
Yeah,
And,
different list.
but my thought would be, yes, you know, to get the feedback from the residents, see, how is this working? You know, we're not, obviously, we're working very hard in the first draft. Is it going to be perfect? Maybe, maybe not. Two, what you're gonna find is that our circumstances, I don't think are generally applicable in other towns. You're not going to find, like, even by way of example, when we looked at our short-term rental ordinance, there weren't that many examples out there. I think in our circumstance, there's probably fewer precedents to look at. And so accordingly, are we gonna have to perhaps refine this, re-examine from time to time? Yes.
Tom, any more explanation needed?
No, thank you. I think we need to hear more information. I know I need to hear more information. You know, underwriters, what's our cost gonna be? I think we owe that to everybody paying taxes. And the way the ordinance is written, if I'm understanding right, we're saying that the ordinance will say whatever paths are identified.
Identified, correct.
So are these maps attached to this document? So that is what we agree on, is those maps, and that doesn't somehow change between now and when the signs go up?
Without getting too crazy with signage, I think, you know, we have to get signage out there to identify that, to be able to enforce this ordinance. I mean, we have to have identified paths first before we can get it. We have to get through step one to go to step two. So
I
the ordinance is saying identified paths.
I see there's two different issues, the path, the maps through town, and the access to the park. I mean, this ordinance is really addressing...
Parks.
Yeah, parks.
So the maps was just an added thing that we decided to do to inform everyone where you can and can't drive. Clearly, you know, you get to registration, so when we got that done, you know, every year, I thought our committee talked with Vinnie about, every year when you signed up, you'd get a map again, something like that, just to be bold out front of it, here it is, you know, we're
Then you
excited
might
about the
change
license
it.
plate. Right.
Yeah, things can change.
But my question is, that image of, you know, Hiller Park, that is, if we agree that the only access is Heller Lane through the parking lot, that is it, is that image of that park a part of that ordinance stating that that is what we agree on?
I want it to be.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would want it to be too.
Because if we're in court, the judge is going to say, show me where, if there's a ticket, someone challenges it, pull the ordinance out from the book, show me where this person was prohibited from not going. The same way, by analogy, you can look up in our ordinance book, and not that there's maps, but every street is referenced in our ordinance as to, this is the street, this is the speed limit. Judge can see that. I want it to be the same with this, and I think that's what the chief was articulating. I simply reinforce what he was saying at the last meeting.
So are we then, what I'm understanding is you want a better blow-up of each park and where we're putting the sign and what the sign's gonna say to be 100% clear?
I don't think it needs to be larger.
Okay.
Myself, I don't think it needs to be, but I would like, I think Beth mentioned that her committee hasn't looked at some of this.
We haven't looked at the specific parking designations within the 4 parks.
Yeah, but we agreed on everything.
Yeah, your committee, right?
Our committee agreed on everything, except where we want.
You agreed to leave it alone with.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, we can go anywhere. Do it
Right.
unanimously.
Okay, but let's get back to Tom's question. I think Tom's question was, do we need more information on the insurance part of it? Was that the question, Tom? The liability part of it?
Yeah. I mean, is our insurance cost gonna go up? I mean, we need to know that.
And I think you could ask them. I don't think they charge. I think they're going to say, listen, here's what it is in our experience. Or they may say, listen, we don't have a lot of experience because we don't consider the city of McHenry to be analogous to the village.
You know, they only allow it, what, May 1st to November 1st, and there's some other minor differences, but.
So it's the same thing as asking when we built Hiller Park and we decided to build a park up there and we're putting a parking lot, did we ask them what's the ramifications gonna be if someone gets in the fender bender in our parking lot, right? So, I mean, pretty much that's what you're asking. Do the same thing but golf cart wise, right?
I guess.
Okay.
And see if they consider it to be
I think a parking lot's a
material.
pretty standard thing, but.
And to see if they consider it to be material. They may be saying,
So
they
we
may come
have-
back and say, this is the same thing as a parking lot and fender bender.
But have we been in any conversation with our insurance carrier about golf carts at all?
We can reach out to them, I'm sure they can
Sure,
give some
let's,
opinion.
let's reach out to them, find out. I don't think it's gonna even be an issue, but I could be wrong.
They're gonna look at it.
There's gonna be an issue only if something happens.
Right, they're only gonna look if you have a loss.
If you got a
Banker
loss.
report, so they're gonna look at if you have a loss, and that's what's gonna be held against us. And the finance committee would be interested in that too, but it's gonna be coming from a perspective of loss, right? So if something happens, accidents, because Michael's saying, then the next year around, we come up with our
That's
insurance,
right. There it
then it's
comes.
gonna come up, and then we're gonna have a raise. for
That's what you're
insurance
basically saying, right?
That's what they're gonna do.
I think that's a good explanation.
Yeah.
Michael sometimes gets really detailed, so it takes a little longer than a second. Okay. All right. I think we're going long enough on that. Anybody else want to say anything as long as
I
we're...
still would like to know the definition between a golf cart and a UTV. Where's that definition in our ordinance?
State statute, chapter 1515, in regards to
Is that-
utility vehicle.
Is that our ordinance?
Yeah, it's on our ordinance referenced by state statute ILCS 628. We removed motorcycles, dirt bikes, and ATVs, but we left utility vehicles and golf carts.
And that was done...
and a UTV.
Saddle Street versus seated seat.
Okay, so a quad where you're sitting like this,
Right.
that's considered an ATV, and
Right.
you're sitting side by side,
Right.
it's a UTV.
When you're sitting on a saddle seat, those are not legal.
So that's,
When you see that kid driving in,
Mhm.
that's what makes us look bad. That's not us.
That's nothing that's changed recently,
Yeah.
that's been like that
It's been
forever.
like-
Said golf carts.
right, we just weren't, I wasn't sure, like, okay, let's allow this,
Right,
like,
Ben?
little go-kart looking thing to
If
go
you
down
see
the
a dirt
road.
bike or you see somebody straddling a seat, that's not legal.
But go-karts would be okay?
Depends on if they fit the
Yeah.
requirements of the
Safety requirements?
UTV ordinance. There's certain
There
requirements.
isn't a
for
size, there's
size,
Is not a size issue, is there a size
lights,
limit or
There is.
warning
60,
size
40,
limit?
yes.
They can
Okay,
only-
we will try to get more information out to
Okay.
everybody, you know, as, like I
Thanks,
said,
Bucky.
we're trying to learn as we go here, and we are
Somebody can.
getting somewhere.
Just-
Trustee Clemson.
Yeah, I was just listening mostly, and thank you for everybody's discussion. We do have noise ordinances at certain times of day, right, Michael? So we have things disturbing the peace at night and different things. Certain hours, just like somebody can't cut their grass at 6 AM in the morning, so like this. So we have some things we can already utilize that today if it's getting out of order and that.
We have an ordinance for aftermarket exhaust already in place under
Okay,
chapter.
that's what I thought, because when I was on ordinance, I thought we had some stuff, so we don't need to recreate some of the rules, but I think some of that's gonna be some of the issues is at certain times of day, I'm guessing is when you guys are hearing it, it's probably past dark or dusk hours.
Like an encyclopedia, then.
I feel like I write it every week.
Be
I have it memorized.
Okay.
I'll be changing it.
Anybody else? Okay, we're there, and, we'll get you some information too on the difference, because Vinnie told you where to look in the ordinance, but he's very helpful and he's, okay. So we're gonna table the ordinance until we get more information on insurance, correct? Is that,
That's how I feel.
pardon me?
That's how I feel about it, yes.
Okay, everybody else? Do you want to take a motion and a second and then have discussion, and if we don't to table it, or do you want to table it? Does everybody agree that it should be tabled?
I'm fine with waiting to get that information.
I think maybe no, but we can maybe add it later on, because I think we need some ordinance in place too, right now.
Okay, Tom?
All right, we all agree on the maps? I mean,
I do agree with the maps I saw in there. I'm okay with that.
Beth?
I think the maps, having that specifically designated going in to the vote on this ordinance gives me better peace of mind. That's how I feel.
Scott?
I concur.
Okay, so do you want to table it, is the consensus? Or Greg, were you saying make a motion and second?
I'm in favor of making the motion second, but then adding the maps additionally on, so at least you have some ordinance in place today versus keep tabling it every meeting, so, because we're getting into the summer months.
Okay?
I'll second that then.
We have a motion by trustee Clemstein and second by trustee Frost. Any other further discussion on the motion? Beth, Tom?
I guess, do we have a caveat that, we're not, like Ed said, we're not going to backpedal on allowing this. So my concern is that the language is tight enough that the designation is clear, and hopefully we minimize our liability by doing that. I'm concerned about the liability of this as well, and I want to be on the record saying that. So if we can proceed with the motion knowing that that is a concern and it should be on our radar going forward, then I'm comfortable going ahead tonight.
For President's report, every time we do it, our meetings, I'll bring up the report that Vinnie will give me for citations and/or phone calls that we've received, so we can also discuss.
Committee reports.
Committee reports, yeah.
And again, this is just one piece of the picture, what we're allowing in parks. There's still, this could be an evolution of.
It is. Kyle's going to revisit it every meeting, so.
One other good reference for you guys to do too, I'm sure, obviously with the concern of the insurance liability, I'm sure that investigation was done for Sledding Hill that was just recently added too. So that might be something that was done, or maybe not, I don't know.
Yeah, we go with that.
I'm sure we look at it all the time, but until there's an accident, it's like anything else, but the sledding hill, I mean, if somebody comes down the sledding hill and plows into one of the lights that we light up the sledding hill with, I'm sure we'll have liability, just like all these other issues, you know. We're creating recreation and things to bring the community together, those things will happen. So, we have a motion on the floor and seconded by Greg and Tom. Any further discussion on the motion? Greg and Kyle. Greg and Kyle. Greg and Kyle, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Tom's got there.
We kept switching seats.
Moving around too much here. Okay? Any further discussion? On the roll, trustee Letzger?
Aye.
Trustee Frost?
Aye.
Trustee Clemstein?
Aye.
Trustee Curry?
Aye.
Trustee Foreman?
I,
Motion carried and passed. Okay. Committee reports, Beth, you have anything since
yes,
last
I have
time?
some time-sensitive issues. We're wanting to sign some contracts for our updated burgers in the Berg. We have...
Thank you guys for coming and thank you for your generous donation.
We have a contract ready to sign with Felix and the Fingers, a Julian piano duo on August 6th. The amount of the contract is for $1,600, performing from 6 to 10 o'clock.
Good night, guys. Thank you very much.
So we would like
And ladies.
the board to consider that as our musical venue for, and Burgers of the Berg probably gonna have to be renamed, but that's kind of the entertainment portion. Again, I think I mentioned food trucks the last time. We have a couple that we need to kind of nail down because, believe it or not, the food truck business is hopping and dates are filling up.
One thing about the burgers in the Berg, you could have burgers in the Berg and more, because it's like the Lions had banjo beer night, but we didn't have banjos for a few years.
Right.
One year the band didn't even show up, we had a stereo and we made the most money.
So, yeah, part 2 or something like that.
Yeah, right.
So, we would like to go forward to securing contracts, so any conversation about that or questions? Okay, we have your blessing. Secondly, the issue with parks benches at Running Brook. The committee has arranged some picnic tables to go over there, but the neighborhood still would like a bench. Now, we have the village option that is significantly more expensive than kind of a regular version, a $200 bench. I'm also wondering what your thoughts are on that. Let me see if I can find a description here. The village, and I know we have some of these around town that have they're black cast iron, right?
Correct.
Duracoat finish, very nice. We can also get kind of a lower model concrete with wire mesh and rebar. I'm looking at this in tiny print. Significantly less. So I'm wondering if the board has an opinion on benches at Running Brook, or bench, actually it's bench, I think.
I think we have to follow our standards. I mean, we made one exception for the family that, the
Up at Hiller.
IDNR up at Hiller, and, but we've established that standard. It's not fair, once you get away from that standard, people want to donate that stuff and in memory of or whatever, you could have a whole 100 different kinds of benches. That's my opinion. And something that is, the less maintenance has always been our goal.
Right. So, the flip side is the neighborhood would requesting that kind of here early in the summer so it can be enjoyed. So, thoughts on that? You want to go with the village standard? Okay. So hopefully we can make that happen. Claudette, is that something that's reasonable?
We can
Yeah,
make,
as I've indicated to you, there's already a debt on that park still, but I would
Right.
expect there's more permits are pulled down, that will go down. So we can take a look and see, just further in depth that
Okay. But I think it's a nice addition for out
That's a
there.
great idea. We maybe can get one of the organizations in town to help us with it too.
Right.
What does that bench cost? I mean, approximately, I'm just curious.
Vinnie would know right off the top.
$1,300.
Yeah.
$1,360 plus $280 in shipping.
And it's got that's with the concrete and everything, Vinnie?
No,
No,
concrete was an estimated cost in regards to $109.95 for 4-foot by 6-foot concrete with wire, done in-house.
And is that with the donated by on the bench or the slab?
Embossed inside the bench is an additional, comes out to a bench of $1,865 each if it's mounted with metal inside the bench, unless you wanted to go with a monument stone of $159.95 for your Miller monument.
The problem with the monument stones that we have been using is they get brushed off and, you know, are we going to be replacing? That's the deal.
Sorry to interrupt, but with Running Brook going on too, Remington's gonna start having a ton of development too, so Len just left for the night, but I gave you the contacts for the HOA at Remington. It's probably a year off or so, but I know we're gonna get a bunch of permit money from me, I think Claudette too, with Kalen.
But again, that's designated for Remington's Park.
That's what I'm saying, our Remington Park, that's what I'm talking about.
So get ready for that.
Future
Yeah.
use, I know Tom was looking at that one time too, but future use, that park's gonna come out now more than ever, because they're probably gonna build the next year, I think.
They're trying to not have a park in your neighborhood?
No, we do in a park, we do have that A1 lot or whatever there.
I thought not, you know, one of those.
That has the
kids
truck
guys
guys
trying to say no
right
park.
there, so we gotta make sure.
Picture it.
I don't have the pictures. Vinnie, do you have a picture of the,
Of the bench, or?
yeah.
I can look later.
Sorry to change that.
Are we talking Remington or Running Brook?
No.
The running,
Running.
the standard bench.
Yeah.
Standard bench?
Description.
They're in,
But they're,
Rescue Park.
They
Yeah.
are, they're Rescue Squad Park.
they're
They have
really nice.
specs.
Okay.
Black ones.
Yeah.
So, that's all I have.
Thanks. Anything else?
I'm sure I'll have
Go
more
for it.
stuff in 2 weeks. That's all I have.
Thanks a lot, Beth. Tom?
I guess I'm down another number, so I've been down like 6 months or so since the last gentleman moved out of town, and now Mr. Lau's moving, so hopefully we've got some people interested in volunteering their time.
If you have any suggestions or want somebody to submit a profile, please have them do it.
Okay.
So finance, we're gonna distribute out, I believe, by the next meeting in June, we're gonna have the first 3 go
Yeah,
out.
I'm not sure it'll be that one or the second one, because we have the auditors coming.
Oh, that's right, okay.
The auditors are behind because of COVID, like everything.
I know. We do want to get that out, so when you do, we hope everybody participates and comes out for the budget meeting. And it's very exciting.
Kyle, anything you want to beat up?
Nope, just chapter 8 again, we're gonna go back at it. Stay on top of it, if any of you guys wanna come to my ordinance meeting, the 3rd Wednesday of every month.
Third Thursday.
3rd Thursday, so give me
6.
At 6, I wrap it up at 7 promptly.
Kyle will be here by himself.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Sorry, so 2 days, like this Thursday coming up?
We just had a special one, we tried to get this so we can get before the meeting, so we're not gonna do one in this month yet, next month.
And, you know, Scott will be taking Kevin's place in Public Works. He hasn't had the privilege of even having a meeting yet, but...
I'm meeting with Dave, I'm gonna call him direct, get
Right.
a tour, we have a meeting next week from today.
Okay, so he'll be our Public Works contact now. Okay, yes, Denny?
I don't have a committee, but if I may, the athletic director from Johnsburg D12 reached out to me in regards to the proposal for the scoreboard that we discussed back in March and April of 2020. We're now here in May of 2021 with the rendition that came forward. Obviously, there was input back in April of 2020 where you guys wanted Johnsburg colors incorporated into the proposal. They did switch Skyhawks to recognized homes since we have travel leagues that use said parks at Mustang Field and Showcase Field. However, they wanted to put their Skyhawk logo on the left-hand side versus the right-hand side so it wouldn't be reversed in regards to Skyhawk facing the wrong direction and then Village of Johnsburg logo going to the right-hand side. But you did also have input that you wanted to see Johnsburg colors in navy blue, maroon, or silver, and it seems as though they only left the rendition with what their vendors say are color options in regards to a blue color in nature. So I didn't know what your marching orders, they sent the contract, which I'll be sending over to the administrator and the law office for review, but I just wanted your input, so I go back to him in a timely manner and say, hey, we need to either change this rendition, or we approve said improvements for Mustang and Showcase Field. Open for input, just asking.
The Junior Skyhawk board would be consistent with this, as the Junior Skyhawks scoreboard has the Junior Skyhawk logo right in the middle of it, basically where the 6 would be in a baseball scoreboard, the inning, and it's blue and gold.
Vinny, where is this sign going?
Mustang Field and...
Oh, I understand Hiller, but where?
Okay, I'll bring up a map real quick for you. So there's currently a current scoreboard at Showcase Field, which they would be using the existing pillars and putting a new scoreboard up. And then they would also be proposing a scoreboard just right here where the electric was completed in regards to connectivity, outside of the footprint of the trees and outside of the fence.
And the high school utilizes both those fields?
Yes, there's an agreement from years prior in regards to...
The agreement was made about a year, 2 years ago, that the fields were underused and it would not interfere with the other baseball leagues. So we thought we wanted to provide a nicer setting for the high school, since Jimmy and the school board is not doing their deal, so we step in, you know, and help them out. But it's great. You know.
Still left with everybody else. All our stuff was done.
Mr. Petterman, if I can add, I think
Yes.
the concern with the colors is this is a village park.
Right.
It's not owned by the school.
Right.
So that's why we wanted to see the village colors incorporated into the signage up there. And the village's logo on the left, being left to right. That was a recommendation a year ago, correct?
Correct, ma'am.
That this village board made.
Correct.
And I would suggest, you know, you had indicated there was some concern about being able to obtain the colors from the manufacturer. Perhaps we can get a color chart from them and take a look at
Yes,
this.
ma'am. I can do that for sure.
Same thing with the Skyhawks scoreboard, or is that done?
We purchased that 2 years ago after...
Well, I know it's been walked on.
Yeah, after we discussed it,
But is the village of Johnsburg supposed to be on that one also?
Nobody asked us to do the village of Johnsburg or any village colors on that one.
I came over to staff in 2018.
Let the records show that.
Yeah, they can paint.
Other side, check with them.
Yes. So, I think I went through this already with them, correct?
You did.
I met
We
with
have
them.
input traffic. Not that you guys want to read all my emails. These are the notes that I had from March of 2020. Add Village of Johnsburg logo to the block tab head in the corner. While we have no issues with Skyhawk colors being utilized in the Skyhawk logo, the remainder of the board should implement village official color scheme, whichever is possible. So that would be the navy blue, maroon, and silver. And the scoreboard should reflect home and visitors, which they made that correction on the second rendition.
Yeah, I think it's our park, you know, it's not the school's park, and it should be, you know, we should be what we want, okay?
Are we okay with the Skyhawk being on the home side, or no? Is that-
You know, the question I have about that too is keep in mind, other teams use these fields,
Yeah,
so they're not
Skyhawk.
always the home team.
If they, sorry guys, I'm just way too vocal. But is there a reason why the Skyhawk had to be faced that way? Why can't
No.
the Skyhawk just go this way and put the village name back over there?
Absolutely, I had the same question. I
That's
don't know why
what
it
we
came back different.
suggested.
That's what we proposed.
And who suggested the other way?
It came back the other way.
Came back this way.
From who?
Athletic Director Ted Juski.
I'm not gonna put words in Ted's mouth, but I would think Ted probably put it there so it's above the home side.
That's what I was thinking. But again, Claudette makes a good point.
They're not the only
It's not
team.
the only team that's gonna play there.
And it's a village park.
motion, we stick with the original plan.
Got it, I'll move forward.
But
Yep. Whatever the board says,
that-
I follow your orders Monday through Friday.
Well, what's the consensus, group? Go with the original plan, Beth?
That's what I,
Tom?
I
agree.
I don't remember seeing the original plan, what it looked like off the top of my head.
No.
Vinny, I'm sure can pull it up.
well, he just described it, right?
I did. So we implemented Village of Johnsburg logo on this left-hand side right here. Skyhawks is right here. We told them to remove Skyhawks and implement a home and guest, and then we wanted Johnsburg colors. I broke it down in regards to the email traffic to where you can see different variations from my notes at the board level in March of 2020.
I guess, for me personally, I understand it's a village park, I understand the colors on the scoreboard. I'm not concerned myself about if the village logo is on the left side or the right side. That doesn't concern me in the least. I mean, if we're gonna allow them to have the logo there, it seems natural it would be above home side, since we're allowing that to be their home field.
Okay, so Beth, you're saying go with it, switch it. Tom's saying leave it as they present it.
No,
Greg?
I'm saying that if we want to make them change their colors to village colors on the rest of the scoreboard, I understand. So if everything surrounding home, inning, guests, all that, if that's, incorporates village colors versus, if that's the village blue versus the Skyhawk blue, I can agree with that 100%. I just don't see the difference in the logo in the upper left corner versus the upper right corner.
Is there any reason we have to have it in the upper left, just because we own the park, is that what you want to do?
Well, I think the thought was you read from left to right, and that's where it's.
Okay, so because it's our park,
Village park.
so we're doing it, they can't move home and guests, but you can't change that on the scoreboard, right?
That's basically it.
That'll confuse everybody, right?
I'm sure you,
That'd be a crime.
why couldn't you, if they can say Skyhawks,
I think so.
if they can say Skyhawks,
That's why I
then
said,
instead
let's
of
get
home.
the other terms, we'll figure it out.
Let's get the other thing was, we were originally talking about the blue home inning guest that was gonna be maroon, the village colors.
Mhm.
Okay, because it's a village park. Okay? We're trying to work with them to give them a nice place to play ball. We're trying to do all these improvements. We want the kids to have a great experience, but on the same token, it's still a village park. It's not a school district park. There's a lot of area outside the school district that isn't in the village, and the village people pay for that.
So we change the colors.
We're asking you for
Yeah, I
input.
mean,
That's what-
I would agree with that, change, I would agree with changing all that, the color scheme. I just don't personally care if, I understand the point, you're on reading left to right and all, but to me, that doesn't bother me, which side it's on.
That's why we're asking. Kyle?
Yeah,
Huh?
I agree, to change the color to maroon.
Just gonna point out that's Richmond Burton's main color. Throwing that out there.
Well, that's put the logo on the left, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm fine with changing it back, like Claudette said. Do we have control over sponsorships, is gonna be on there and stuff like that? Nothing offensive, we said, right, back in the day?
It's nothing offensive, so it's 70% allocation of sponsorship for manufacturing in the sum of $30,000.
Okay.
After the 3 to 5 year window, when said sponsorship pays for the sign, then the kickback would be returned back to Hiller Park with the promise that it would go back towards improvements at said Hiller Park.
We've also talked about, permanent dugouts and stuff, block dugouts that we would work on field at a time to make it, cut block to follow the original plan.
We're still in phase 1.
Phase .75.
But I'm just thinking, you're not gonna let me do like tobacco, ad. We're never gonna.
Okay.
That's not.
Yeah,
So-
And
Cannabis.
So Greg, you're saying flip it,
Yeah.
a maroon, and that's it, right?
Yep.
Okay. And Beth was the same way?
Yeah, I would like a more prominent village feel to it. You know, I don't have that big of a deal with the Skyhawk over on the home side. Can we just make ours a little bigger or no? And
Okay. All right, we heard from Tom. Greg, you're okay with the minutes? Kyle?
Or said maroon, and I'm in agreement with Claudette to put the logo on the left.
What do you say?
Flip, like, so.
All right? That's what will happen. Thank you, guys.
thank you, Minnie, for handling that.
Yep, see you in June.
Can I add something on
Yes,
behalf of?
please do.
Mr. Hagan's not here tonight, but he asked me to point out that you received an email on the marketing plan proposal that he submitted for your consideration. Asked you to take a look at it for the next meeting, because he'd like to see us talk about it and take some action on it. So if you need more information between now and the next meeting, let me know.
Okay.
Okay?
Who's handling it now, Claudette? Who handles
Nobody.
it? Nobody.
Yeah, we don't have any,
We've
Other
talked
than-
about it.
Yeah.
yeah, and other than what we did
Kyle
with the
suggested somebody.
McHenry County EDC, that McHenry County
booklet?
Living magazine, yeah. That's the only thing we've done before.
Okay.
Good to know.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion by trustee Cross, seconded by trustee Letzker. On the roll, trustee Letzker, trustee Cross,
Yeah.
trustee Clemstein, trustee Curry, and trustee Foreman.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Quarters off.